Are we live yet? Yeah, waiting for that. Are you doing the intro or am I?
I'll do it.
All right.
Hey everyone, welcome back to this week's edition of Actifio On-Tech. I'm Jason.
And I'm Jay. Excited to be here.
So, today is June 14th, 2018. What are we drinking today, Jay?
Well, you know, I was looking at it and I wasn't... Johan buys a brot.
Right.
Not a boat, but an extra R in there.
Is that a play off a biblical thing?
I don't know, but some noise back there. Oh, we have some paper back there just because we do.
Yeah. So, Johan buys a brot from Aslan Beer Company. They're located in, I believe, somewhere... Oh, Herndon, Virginia. So
Okay, not local though.
No, not local. I got this from a regular trader of mine.
Gotcha.
And this beer is a double IPA with pineapple, mandarin oranges, and vanilla. Right up your alley.
They like that.
Big hitter, though. 9.4%.
Oh, man.
So we'll see how it goes. So I'll get a little
Sweet.
roll here, back and forth.
Don't roll too much. It's going to like explode
3,
when you
4.
open it.
Ah, no. It'll be fine.
Oh, good.
Little clap there on the top, too. Good to go. So, Jay.
Yes, sir.
What are we talking about today?
Well, you know, there's a bunch of things in the news. Here, I'll get my cup over here. And a side note, you're wondering what this big blue thing, white thing is? This is our blue mic. We're trying a new mic today. I hope you like the quality better than the past ones. Let us know in the comments if you do. It should be a better mic. But a couple things really come to mind. One thing is, big event today. There is the World Cup that starts today. And I was interested to see about that. Kind of excited about the World Cup, though bummed out that the U.S. didn't make it, of course.
Very bummed out.
But, you know, there's a few sort of technology-oriented things going on there that I thought were pretty interesting.
There you go.
One is
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers to our producer.
Cheers, our producer.
Cheers.
One is the video review, and the other is RFID. You want to talk about some of that? What
Yeah,
your thoughts
so
are?
if you remember from the last World Cup 4 years ago, and that was in Brazil, right? I believe it was in Brazil. They introduced something called the Goalline Cam, right? So if you ever watched hockey, then you knew that there's a camera over the goal line to see if the puck goes all the way over the line. Same thing applies in soccer. It's not a goal unless the ball goes fully over the line. It can go on the goal line.
Right.
Jay, actually, is a goalie. He plays soccer. He does this
I
very
love it.
well.
I love it.
The ball has to be fully over it, 100%. And so there's a lot of controversy there because the referees aren't necessarily standing on the goal line. And so what they implemented last World Cup was this goal line technology. It proved to be actually very useful. Now, this year, they've done a few more things related to technology. The first that you said is this VAR, Video Assisted Referees, where, kind of like replay in hockey, in basketball, in football, and now in baseball, as we've seen this year in the U.S., they actually can go to the video replay to make specific calls.
You got it.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about that is there was a game in 2010 that I was watching on YouTube that was really unbelievable, where a guy shot the ball, it hit the crossbar, and clearly on video crossed the line. Like literally it bounced a foot behind the line.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Germany game. And yet, because they didn't have video review, they didn't call it a goal. And it was ridiculous. So this is a good example. The thing I wonder about, though, is when you have these 4 refs, that's how many they have, watching the games in Moscow, on call, so when the ref wants to get a second opinion, he can just reach out to them. But, you know, a lot of these video replay, I like the accuracy, but I hate the delay, right? It can take a minute or two, and all of a sudden, you know, this whole thing about soccer is 45 minutes straight with, you know, then halftime and then 45 more minutes. It feels like that can really slow things down. There's a bunch of these calls. You know, it gets a little annoying as you're sitting there waiting.
Now, they've tried to reduce it to just game-changing plays.
Right.
So goals, red cards, penalty kicks, things like that. So at least it'll be only for specific situations, like in the kind of other sports that we see it there.
Yeah.
But you are right. It could cause some delays, but we'll see how it goes, I guess, right? And now, excuse me, the other thing that was interesting here is the fact that they're using a new... Well, they're using the same soccer ball, but actually by adding in a NFC chip into the ball. So NFC chips, if you know what an NFC chip thing, it powers things like Apple Pay and Android Pay and things like that, and it allows the ball to communicate with a smartphone. It's kind of a limited release, I'd say, for this. It's kind of a test thing. They're just really having it check out the product information and challenges with the ball. I don't think there's real-time tracking or anything like that, but it's interesting. I wonder... How big is this chip? Is it wrapped into the actual ball? Will it cause a little imbalance in the ball? So it'll be interesting to see, A, if that has an impact on it, and B, what they can use it for in the future if they think it's
totally
successful,
agree.
right?
I mean, you could imagine. Remember they had that thing in hockey, and Jason's a big
glowing
hockey
puck.
guy.
The
glowing puck they
That
had
was
for the
a
longest time.
Monumental failure.
Yeah.
By the way. Monumental failure.
But it could be something like that. If not the glowing puck on TV, maybe it's just being able to track the ball and then being able to instantly see where it is in terms of goals or not goals, without even having to go to video replay. Maybe the computer could just tell you because it knows exactly where the ball is at all times.
You're right.
Who knows? I mean, some future, right?
Something for the future. I agree with you. All right. Next topic. Something that I'm interested in, even though I'm not a player, but Fortnite. Plenty of Fortnite players out there. I'm sure some of you play Fortnite. I used to be huge into video games back in the day, but now I'm old with kids, and they're not old enough to play video games yet. So
Mine do. I love it.
I'm not into this Fortnite craze yet, but essentially what it is, it's like winner take all video deathmatch, basically.
Yeah.
Right?
With ever shrinking playing field.
Yes.
So you can't kind of camp out too much because it's going to shrink. So eventually you'll get this tiny area where the last 2 or 3 guys are remaining and have to fight.
Right, and it's huge across the world, across all platforms, PCs, game consoles, even handhelds. And I've watched some videos on it. It's crazy. People are building these things, running up things, and destroying, and I don't know if I could even play it. Like I got used to get confused playing Madden. So
I know.
Never mind this. But apparently at E3, which just happened as well, maybe we'll save that for next week. But at E3, which is the annual convention for gaming, they announced that Fortnite will be available for Nintendo Switch. And Nintendo Switch is the brand new Nintendo platform, which it's a console, but you can actually take it with you as well.
Yeah, you got it.
And so very popular with a lot of people, and Fortnite is now released on that, but there's an issue. So Fortnite, for the most part, is a cross-platform game. If you create a user on PS4, you can use the same user on Xbox, on PC, on your Android phone, etc. But for some reason, if you are a PS4 user and you want to use your Nintendo Switch, you cannot transfer your player profile, your rewards, your skins that you win, anything. And it's causing major backlash. And it's Sony that is preventing this. And, when I was looking for articles to talk about today, it was splashed across everything that I was reading. So very interesting.
Yeah, the funny thing about that is, so my kids play, and they're terrible. They do. They're terrible. But they admit it. But they play a lot. And what you see is the big thing is the players who are really good get all kinds of special weapons and uniforms and can do all the stuff. So you can just see them that, oh, this guy's really good because he's got this special dance and this special weapon. And so it's a really big deal. And you can pay a lot of money to get these things too. But again, you're paying money. Yeah. So you do all this investment either in time by playing a ton and becoming really good, or all this money and buying all this stuff. And you think, well, I can be this great player no matter the platform, only to find out, like, I might be great on all these platforms, and I go to the PS4 and I stink, and I'm like the noob again. And I can only imagine how upsetting that would be for those people who are really into it. Now, my kids are terrible, and we're not spending a lot of time, and we're not spending money on it, so it's no big deal. But certainly for those people who do, and growing up, I played video games too, and we certainly knew those players who would spend a ton of time, like, obsessing about these kinds of things. It's like a big deal. But hey, look, video games, it's not the end of the world, right? We're not going to die if the video game profile doesn't come across, but I get that people get upset about these things.
It's becoming a huge PR thing for Sony, which is very, very interesting because of a video game. And it's important to note, Xbox One users can transport their profile to Nintendo Switch, so the competition has already jumped on this and said, hey, we can play, we're good, come to us. So
yeah, I don't understand why Sony would want to do that. Like, what's in it for them? They just look bad. They look really like, not sort of consumer-friendly people, and that's not what you want.
I expect it to change, and if it does, we will talk about it in another Actifio On-Tech.
Exactly.
So what about intermission first?
Oh, yeah, intermission.
How do you think of the beer?
I really like this beer. It's very smooth. It certainly is one that is fairly strong, but I like it. It's very fruity and very smooth, and I tend to like beers like that. I'm not a big, hardcore, traditional bitter IPA guy, and this is not that.
I say the nose is great. I love the nose. When I taste it, though,
you're not sold.
I'm not sold. It tastes a little funky to me.
Oh, okay.
I don't like it.
All right.
So overall, I'd probably say I don't like it. I like the nose, but taste, mouthfeel, finish, and I love Aslan beers. I have a friend that I trade with a lot and get a lot of different beers. There's Starfish beers. Their stouts are excellent as well. But this one, I think the adjuncts in it kind of just clash with my taste buds.
You know what? No problem. You can give me your rest of yours, and I'm happy to finish it.
See, Jay wins one for one.
There you go, exactly.
All right, what's next?
So the next thing is big news this week. You know, to the Supreme Court, this whole idea of AT&T and Time Warner.
The whole monopoly.
Right. And there's this whole merger conversation and discussion. Can a cell phone company and a DirecTV or a satellite company buy a content provider?
Yep.
And it failed in previous courts, and there was this big argument, and it got all the way to the Supreme Court this week, and surprisingly, it passed.
I was surprised by that.
Yeah, me too. So what do you think? Like, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I know, there's reasons why we don't have monopolies and things like that. It's bad for business. This one seems like a monopoly to me a little bit, but the thing that kind of interests me the most about this is that now that this has happened, what else is going to happen? Because now we just saw Comcast submitting a $65 billion request to buy Fox Studios after Disney already said they were going to purchase them.
Right.
So we're seeing this one-upmanship now.
Right.
In the area. And I also read something here, which for me, I'm a superhero guy. I like all the different movies.
Right.
That if this deal happens, it could threaten an Avengers and X-Men crossover, which
Right.
would always be interesting. So, yeah, I think there's implications wide range, not only just from antitrust and monopoly standpoint, but even just from entertainment standpoint.
Sure.
It's very interesting.
It does come back a little bit to this whole net neutrality thing a little bit, because as these providers become captive and can buy the content provider, so as the DirecTV, well, maybe they'll treat Comcast differently, who calls up and says, hey, can I get some of that Time Warner content? Maybe they'll do something different. Maybe they'll try to charge them more or do something to take advantage of that. And likewise, with Fox, maybe Disney or Comcast would do that. And it becomes this interesting, and I agree, feels like tough from a competitive standpoint situation around it, as these content distributors now have sort of unfair advantages with certain content providers across the board. But I don't know what that means. It can't be good.
Yeah, I think we'll see how it goes here. It is interesting that some of this was like in response to like Netflix being so popular, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting how this is being spurred from, and whether more big things will happen or not, how it affects, from like my dollar perspective, I don't really care. Except from my entertainment perspective, I want to see unique crossovers or new shows or new ideas.
Right.
They get stymied because of these different things.
I agree.
That's kind of a bummer.
I agree.
All right, Jay. What else we got?
So the last thing on my list is I was reading about, and Jason and I have talked about it in the past with Tesla. And Tesla, and the story was wanting to increase their monthly volume to 5,000 cars. Right. All big deal. Great.
Right. That's the first one.
Yeah. But what's happened recently is they announced this week that they were cutting 9% of their employees, which is interesting because here they are trying to grow and really finalize these things, and here they are then significantly cutting their organization. Now, to be fair, they say, oh, it's the office workers, it's not the the people in the factories, and it's going to be fine. But it's an interesting situation because they're certainly trying to ramp in one aspect, and the other aspect, maybe they're trying to shrink.
It's interesting, right? So yeah, we want to increase production tenfold, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But we're not going to lay off 9% of our workforce. Like you said, so it's more of the white collar stuff. And I made a joke with you at lunch and said, oh, well, they're probably like, well, we don't really need sales and marketing people because we have a 3-year wait list for our cars. And you all sign up online. So, yeah, we don't need these guys. So, see you later. But yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, typically when you're doing a layoff, it's because profits are down.
Right.
So maybe if we see at the next quarterly report that their profits are down or there's a dip and that's the response to it, maybe it's just trimming the fat.
Right.
Or maybe, they are just streamlining and becoming more efficient. Because if you think about Tesla, it's a technology company, but it's also a supply chain company.
Right, that's true.
And so if they're, becoming efficient in there because of AI and automation, whatever it may be, then maybe, like I said, it's just not necessary to have the workforce they have and they let them go.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, the flip side is maybe they're reaching the point where they realize that profitability is more important for them than maybe they've thought about in the past. And so because of that, they're trying to accelerate the path to profitability by getting rid of some of these white-collar workers. But it does raise an interesting question of if you didn't really need them to begin with, like, why did you hire them?
Maybe they were hired preemptively for some R&D projects that didn't work.
Maybe.
Maybe they wanted, change or move dollars towards some of their other projects, like SpaceX. Who knows what it may be.
I know. It's interesting. Well, that's it. What I have on my list for this week. Did I miss anything?
No, the 4 topics are good. I think we're running good on time as well. So, everyone, thanks for watching. Whether you're watching live with us right now or on the replay, we love being here. We love talking about these things. If you have any topics for next week, send us an email, jason.brown@actifio.com.
J@actifio.com. J-Y.
He's fancy. It's
easy. It's easy.
So, yeah, send us an email or hit us up in the office if you're here in Waltham, and we'd love to talk to you, get feedback, and see what you're interested in hearing about. So with that, cheers.
Cheers, everyone.
See you next week.
See you next week.